Okay, we were talking about the wedding thing.
Yeah.
Guys, welcome back to the second part of our show. Please don't forget while you're watching, please subscribe, please like, continue the conversation. I'm with Mahali, we're still talking about weddings and marriages.
Yes.
Right, and as you would have seen, the contentious question that we asked in the last one, and if you haven't seen the first part of our discussion, please click on the link somewhere and please go back and watch that. So, the question I asked was around traditional weddings and white weddings and the issue around why a traditional wedding is not considered or would not be considered to be blessed by God and faith and those type of issues. So what's your take on that?
So I think with that question, depends.
It depends, okay.
Depends. So what happens at a traditional wedding is that introductions happen in terms of introducing the two families and introductions to the ancestors happens. So you slaughter whatever, we slaughter either a cow or a sheep. So if it's at my house, we'll slaughter the cow or sheep for my partner to introduce him to my ancestors.
Okay.
So how it's done now is that we as black people, we mix tradition and Christianity.
Okay.
So you'll still do the ancestral things, and then we still get together and pray and thank God for that day and for the blessings and so forth.
And those things kind of like clash?
Yes. Okay. But it, like I say in the beginning, it depends on
and how
your
it's being
practice and your understanding of traditional and Christianity. So if you are a Christian, you will know in the Bible, God says you can be a part of those things, right? But don't eat the meat.
Oh, okay.
Don't speak to the ancestors. Be there in presence, but don't eat, don't speak.
So is that now part of Lobola and is Lobola and traditional weddings, is that the same thing? What?
No. So Lobola is the process where you negotiate two families coming together.
Like separate process?
Separate process.
Now that's done.
Okay.
Okay.
Traditional wedding is dependent on cultures.
Okay.
So that's a Sotho, if traditional wedding would be, and it depends as well, am I getting married to someone who has the same tradition as me, or am I getting married to someone who's got a different tradition?
Yes. And to your point, you said earlier that your partner is Zulu, you are Sotho.
Yes.
So obviously different practices.
Yes.
Okay.
So Zulu, they have what they call umembeso.
Okay. Which is what?
Umembeso means to clothe.
Okay.
Right? Translation. Translation.
If someone can explain it better, drop in the comments.
It's a gifting process.
Okay.
It's a gifting ceremony where you gift the girl's family, in this instance, blankets or anything that pretty much you put on the list.
Yeah, but that's the practice that the Zulus follow.
Yes.
Okay. And then you guys have...
So, Kasesotho, we would just have a ceremony where we welcome the bride or the groom. Ancestral things will be done.
This is the wedding part of it.
Yes.
Okay.
And Kasesotho, we have a ceremony where the woman will come together with the girl and bamufama ele, meaning guidance of what to do in a marriage. And you are then given a new name.
Okay.
So if I came in as Mahadi, I become Matsidiso, for instance.
Like a brand new name?
Yes, it becomes your family name.
Oh, wow.
So it's a naming ceremony for Basotho.
So is this just a new name for the female, or does the man?
For the female, men don't get a new name.
Okay.
And KasiZulu, they do umembeso, meaning the guy's family comes and gives the girl's family whatever they had agreed on.
Sounds like a lot of costs. And I mean, Lobola, traditional wedding, and I know some people in addition to that will do the white wedding. So I mean, is it important to do all of these events or processes? Like is it important to do all of them? Do you know maybe like what's more expensive, or how are the costs? Or what does that look like?
So expense is relative.
Okay.
I always say that, and for me, I say the most important thing is you and your partner. Do not fall in the trap of trying to impress your parents, because they will have an influence in how it should be done.
Okay. They will definitely have
Yes.
a say, yeah.
And it also depends on the family you come from. I come from a very conservative family.
Okay.
My mother is someone who likes to keep things private.
Okay.
A very private family, not
Intimate,
conservative,
yeah.
but private family. So when we had umembe, so it wasn't a big hoo-ha thing where we had table settings and extravagant stuff. It wasn't extravagant. We agreed that we are doing this because we want to follow our tradition. So it's literally about our families.
Just to honor that,
yes,
yeah.
to honor. So it was about our families coming together and knowing each other. Nothing more, nothing less. And it allowed us to then be able to do the nice setup in a costly way, because we didn't feel obliged to invite a whole lot of people.
And I guess it's more intimate that way, because you
Very.
have like largely the special people in your life where you're probably going to share the rest of your life and your partner's life with them. They'll be part of that, as opposed to like 10,000 guests that you'll never see again.
Yeah.
And we keep on talking about this from a black perspective, right? And is the concept of Lobola just an African thing?
No.
Yeah.
Actually, white people also practice the concept of Lobola.
Okay. They do?
Back in the, yes. So back in the days, how white people practice the concept of Lobola is that they Lobola with the wedding rings.
It's like the dowry thing. Isn't
Yes,
it? Okay.
dowry. Yeah. So a white man back in the days would present wedding rings to the girl's family as a gift. And how they do it.
So they're doing Lobola, but they don't even know.
Yes. Okay. And I'm sure a lot of white people actually don't know
the history of that.
Yes, okay. the reason why there is this thing called wedding rings.
Okay.
It comes from the fact that it was a gift to the family of the girl to show commitment.
Okay.
Just like us, the cows is to show commitment. That as much as I'm taking this away from you, but here is a gift that will replace what you might have been losing.
Oh, snap.
So how white people do it now is that their dowry is they pay for the wedding.
Okay.
So
like the male family would normally cover
yes.
the wedding.
Yes.
Okay.
So
and
that's
a
how
form of
yes. And I
it's
always
more practical.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I always say, when it comes to tradition and weddings, it's quite how do I put it? It's something that you need to define for yourself.
Okay. As a couple and a family
Yes.
and so forth. Yeah.
And like any tradition, it evolves. And we are in a place now where our traditions have evolved, and you as a couple need to look at what works for you.
Then don't you feel like, because now as I'm listening you unpack this, the average or the typical black couple now would follow these traditional practices and the westernized practices, which is essentially the same thing. It's almost like you're doubling down on the same thing essentially. And in your opinion, do you think there's room for that? Do we need to do both? If it's the same thing in principle.
So how I'd answer that is you can do, I don't believe you need to do separate ceremonies or celebrations.
Okay.
To save costs, do it on the same day.
Okay.
Why can't you have your white wedding and your traditional wedding on the same day? You just change your outfits.
Yeah.
In your white wedding dress, and then later in the afternoon or the evening, you wear your traditional wear, and you do the same. You do your traditional processes and things that you have to do. And you've also covered the white wedding where you go to church and you have the blessing from God. And you mustn't forget that a lot of people tend to confuse white wedding with, no, but tshwantse ke tlo sign.
Yes.
Right? The signing, you can do it anytime.
Without like, you just go.
Yes, you can go to Home Affairs and sign. It's just a legal
Document,
thing
yeah.
that comes into
Document,
play. It's important to understand what is important to you. If for you it's important that God is the center of everything, and together with your partner you agree on that, probably your budget will go more to your white wedding because that's what is most important
To you.
If you feel that traditional wedding is important to our parents and we have to do it to honor them, you'll do it, but you will guide the budget and say, this is not going to be, yes, it's not going to be a big celebration for us. We are doing it to honor you and to honor the tradition, so we are going to keep it intimate.
All right, and then with that, so rings, right? Wedding rings. I mean, in traditional weddings, do they have wedding rings? Do you think if your partner and you're married and everything was like, nah, rings aren't for me. So are rings part of the traditional practice as well? And what's your take on people who prefer not to wear rings?
Sure, the ring one is, for me, I think a ring is a symbol of a union that is continuous and going. That's why a ring is round, and it's a continuous thing. And I think it's important for me to have a ring on because it's a reminder of your commitment to someone else.
Is it the reminder to you or to society to be aware that
to me and to my partner? It's just like when you have a vision board. If you see it every day, it will get you to start thinking about, or it will remind you rather to not forget that this is what you want to achieve. So for me, a ring symbolizes that as well. It is something that reminds me of my commitment to someone else, and that reminds me that I want to spend the rest of my life with this person, and I want to continue this relationship and make it a success.
And I'm glad that you're almost bringing back your partner into this conversation, because weddings are the celebration, it's the ceremony, but then there's the marriage. And we spoke about we need to highlight that there's a very key difference in your take on those two things. And what would you say is important for people to understand when it comes to that?
So people confuse that a lot. So a wedding is a celebration of two people coming together in the presence of their loved ones to show commitment to each other. So their loved ones are there to be witness to that. That's a wedding. It's a one-day thing where people spend 300,000 and then you're in debt for
oh my God,
3 to 4 to 5 years. You could have bought a freaking one-bedroom house in Midrand, rent it out and buy shares, or go to your freaking honeymoon. That is going to have a lasting memory and add to
and it's
your
for the two
union.
Of you,
yes. A marriage is work. And when I say work, it's not work as in tedious work, but it's work in that you add value in another person's life by showing them what it means to be loved. Marriage is a partnership because when we get into marriage, we agree that we are going to do things together. We agree that we're going to buy a house together. We agree that we are going to have kids together.
It's not like I do this, you do that, and some way we'll figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So see marriage as starting a business, right? When you start a business, what is the end goal? To make money, right? Or to be a success in whatever you do.
And to your point of the whole interviewing that you need to do, when you go into business, you make sure that your partner is aligned with what you want.
Exactly.
The same should go for marriage, I guess.
Yes. And when you start a business, you started hoping that it is a business that is going to sustain you in the long run, and it's a business that is going to be passed down your generation. So your marriage will then start being what the next generation will look at as a union that encourages, a union that grows, a union that succeeds together.
And you've had the traditional wedding.
Yes, I have.
And so you are now married, right? Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It confuses me.
It confuses you. Partner, take the hints.
Because I say I am Christian, so for me that's the important part. Like I said, that is the Christian part of the marriage is more important to me than the tradition.
So, but you'll find it to your partner.
The tradition, yes, to him. So,
you are
and we actually argue about it a lot of the times. So it's like, we married. I'm like, no, we're not, because we haven't gone to church and I haven't said my vows in front of God, and but we are.
Okay. And so in that time, are the challenges of a married couple different to those of a couple maybe that's engaged or even just dating? And what are they? Like, what have you experienced to be some of the things that young people should consider when, playing with the idea?
So the only challenge that I think is there is that it's no longer about you. It is about you and your partner.
Okay.
I did not, when we were dating, have to ask him I didn't have to ask him to go to my mom's house for Christmas or to spend Christmas at my mom's house. Now it's changed. We need to negotiate that, because at the end of the day, we are a family before my ex nuclear family.
Yes.
This
is now your core.
Yeah, this is now my core, and we come first. And as much as, yes, we exist together, but we also exist with our extended family.
Yes.
And we need to be able to integrate that into our lives.
Okay.
And we need to understand that as much as I want to go spend Christmas with my family, he also wants to go spend Christmas with his family. So the only challenge there is figuring out your family. How do you set up your family, and how are you going to go about spending special family events without compromising his family or without compromising my family. So it's about how do we partner in a way that makes sense for us. Just like a company, you have values, you have you have a strategy for the year. You have to plan those kind of things. Every single year you need to sit down and say, what do we want to achieve as a couple, as a married couple? And that's what keeps you going in a relationship. If you guys don't have goals, you end up actually starting to grow apart, because you are building goals in your own capacity. I say I'd love to travel, but have I actually engaged my partner with that?
Where he's at about
yes,
that,
where is he with that? Does it make sense for our marriage that we want to travel together? Do you like it? What makes us happy?
Because I think some people are always concerned about, like, I don't want to lose who I am in this relationship or partnership. And with that, are there any new challenges that you are finding out? Because you're still very young, and it's a young...
Listen, finances is a challenge.
It's a challenge.
It is a huge...
It's sensitive.
It's a sensitive conversation to have. Even now.
With you guys,
Just coming, for us to be where we are now, where we were able to talk about finances, was a long process.
Comfortably, where it's not awkward,
Yes. having to merge those two things is quite important for a household. What's the point of marrying someone if you're not going to trust that you guys can talk about your finances? Your finances is what is going to help you guys grow in your marriage. And because, when you were alone, you did what you pleased with your money. Like I say again, the biggest challenge is understanding that it's no longer about you, but about us. And when I say it's no longer about you, it doesn't mean you need to lose yourself in your marriage. You need to be able to understand that you and your partner need to be able to understand that we are individuals first, and together, this is what we bring, and this is what we become together.
And then, with that, at this point in your relationship, because you've been together as a couple for quite a while now, so how would you rate the quality of your communication as well as your romance now versus how it was earlier on? Because I think sometimes, I wonder, as great as it is in the beginning or in the early years, what does it look like 10 years in and 15 years in? And what have you learned to be like, how you've kept it going?
So, communication gets harder.
Okay.
And what my partner and I have agreed on is that we go 3 times a year. We go for counseling sessions.
Not like anything is wrong, it's just like
Yes,
touch base. Yeah.
touch base. We do it because a third person can help us see someone else's point.
Okay.
Because once you get into a marriage, you get comfortable, right? And you've got expectations, and your expectations are not clearly defined.
Okay.
You tend to go into a marriage and say, you're the man, so you bring the money in. I'm the woman, so I cook and do all of those things, right? And yes, in the beginning, it's important to have that conversation so you can understand your role in your relationship or in your marriage. But like I said, you get comfortable, and there are other things that come.
And there's like, you now have kids, and there's
You have
pressures
kids,
at work,
there's in-laws, there's
in-laws,
this,
yeah.
there's that, there's jobs, I got a job in Cape Town, but this guy, all he's ever known is Johannesburg, his family lives here, everything is here.
And his career is going well here.
Exactly. So for me, I think it's very, very important. And as young black people, we generally see going to a counselor as there's a problem.
I don't need someone telling me how to do my own.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times as people, we find it difficult to unpack our own situations.
Unpack.
I find it easy to advise my friends about their problems.
Yes. But it's not as easy to identify it within your own context.
Because as human beings, it's unfortunate, but you always feel like you're right. You always feel like you're right. And if you've believed in something your whole life that it's supposed to be like this, it's hard to break out of that thing. So a third person coming in, just that person is coming in to stabilize your relationship, to give you something to walk away with, to think about, to say, yes, I strongly believe in this thing, but now I've heard Mahali and what she feels about this thing. Okay. So how do I go back with that thing and make it work for us?
Okay, that was nice. I think we stand a lot to learn, and it's an ever-evolving process. And I think you're also learning more about how to be a better mother, a better partner, a better lover, a better all these things, because we're all just growing. So what should people consider? Like, our platform, our generation, like what do you think are some key things for us to just consider when it comes to relationships, weddings and marriages?
One, consider yourselves. Consider what makes you happy. I think that is very, very vital, because if you think someone is going to walk into your life and make you happy, you will never be happy.
Okay.
Be happy with you first, because once you find someone, you'll be able to exude that happiness in their life. And then you can form a formidable relationship. So find happiness with you first, and then commit to something with someone.
Okay.
2, this is your marriage,
not
your mother's marriage, not your sister's marriage, not your friend's marriage. Go about it your way. Go about it your way. Don't live your marriage boxed in what society says marriage should be. Don't live your marriage boxed. And this is for the millennials. What social media thinks your marriage or your wedding
relationship
should
goals.
be. Because that's where you find yourself overspending, because you're thinking about Instagram now, like, oh, Chomi, I have to have that picture. Oh, Chomi, when you guys hashtag, like, those flowers must be doing the things. Oh, Chomi, you need to be mature in the way you think, and it is about you and no one else. Don't ever get fooled by that. And don't forget that a marriage is not a destination. You don't get married. And I guess a lot of people always go, now we're married, now what? It's because you thought it's a destination. Marriage is not a destination, it's a journey. You are forever becoming in a marriage. So the importance of choosing the right partner, interview your partners, guys.
Like there must be a questionnaire, there must be, I'm kidding.
Not a questionnaire.
Okay, don't do that.
But don't do that. But
first date vibes, awkward.
You know when you can have a conversation with someone and they touch your soul. D-Mac, people's souls are being touched, boy. They touch your soul.
Let them be touched.
And they exercise your mind. Don't just have mindless conversations with your partner, because this is the person you are going to spend the rest of your life with. So if you guys...
And that shouldn't scare you. When you think of that, it shouldn't scare you.
If this guy, when you talk to him and he takes you deep.
Hectic. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
I loved our chat today.
I loved it too. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Guys, please don't forget, like, subscribe. Anything that you're doing that you'd like to share? You said you do public speaking.
Yes, I do motivational speaking. I'm particularly interested in speaking to young girls, boys between the ages of 13 and 19. I do understand that you guys are faced with a lot, and I'd like us to just have a conversation about what are those things that you are faced with, and how do we help you navigate through life and find yourself in a position that you are stable, you're confident, and you know what you want in life. So if you want to touch base with me, please touch base with me on Twitter. My handle is at...
we'll put it here.
But at Mahadi Mandutle, and Mahadi is spelled with an L-I, not a D-I. Touch base.
That's important. Guys, thank you so much. Please hope you enjoyed the show. Bye. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.